last September in 2021, 3 members of parliament of Mongolia and we have proposed amendments to the current investment law, which requires a threshold of a foreign investment of 25% and $100,000. Back in 2007, over about 1,600 new foreign investment entities were being registered, but in 2020, 2019, it came down to over 200. So the 4 of us actually, under the assumption that this is going to boost economic development and investment, we met with harsh criticism by social media and even some of our fellow parliamentarians. They saw this as an attempt, a covert affair to increase foreign and Chinese influence into the economy and even to hand out Mongolian citizenship. This was a bit of a shock to me because I thought after 30 years down the democratic path, having chosen the market economy, we would be much more open to foreign investment, international development, and international competitiveness. But what I have seen is rather than these common aspirations, we actually have led the ground for ultranationalist and also populist policies. During the pandemic, international trade and international affairs is in decline. And the war has actually made it even worse. It's in a downward spiral. But amidst all of this, what we're seeing is we're leaving the ground open for ultranationalist and populist policies. And it is becoming, and the history has taught us, that when we resort to such low morals, it can lead to authoritarian regimes and also even fascist regimes. But on top of all this, the world's biggest powers have resorted openly, are engaging in protectionist policies and entrenchment strategies. On top of all of this, especially social media, free media, NGOs, human rights fighters are also under attack as well. What we are seeing around the world is not only in the developing country. Freedom House, the latest research has shown that in about 80 countries, democracy is in decline. And this is not only in the developing countries, but also, to my greatest surprise, is also in the most developing countries as well. Countries that we look at, like the US, as the beacon of hope and the epitome of democracy, when we see decline in those countries, it ultimately resonates into the other countries as well. America first, the movement has resonated into other countries as me first. Whatever you do to survive, those who can't keep up with the pace are left behind. Any hope of staying afloat, we will grab onto it no matter what is at the end of the rope. But we're not asking much from the developed countries. What we're saying is that, especially during the pandemic, and especially during the war of Russia and Ukraine, we're seeing big differences, big changes happening all around the world. The world was never the same after the 2 world wars, the Cold War, and 9/11. Just like that, the world would never be the same after the pandemic and after the war. But is it going to be this? Is it going to change for the better, or is it going to change for the worse? This is where we stand right now. If those of us who fighters for democracy, fighters for freedom, fighters for equality, tolerance, free economy, and if we fight together, if we unite together, tomorrow will be a better day. But at the same time, if we sit back, if we take an approach of entrenchment strategy, protectionist strategy, as long as I do fine, we don't really care about what is happening in the rest of the world. We leave in the ground open for the populists. We leave in the ground open for ultranationalists. So we ask, especially those who are ahead of us, we're not asking for billions of dollars in development aid. We're asking those of us who are ahead of us to lead us to a better pasture land, as we might be walking into the lion's den. The pandemic has revealed a lot in the world. It has revealed some of the flaws in our society, but also it has revealed some of the things that we had taken for granted. during the pandemic, amidst the height of the pandemic, we have built more respect for the emergency workers, the health workers. Trying to homeschool our children, we have understood the importance of teachers and the schools. Trying to work from home, be more productive, we have missed our workplaces and even our employers. We have, during the pandemic, when everything was on lockdown, we realized the importance of foreign trade, foreign relations, trying to get vaccines from one country to the other, even trying to get our goods being delivered from one country to the other. Our posts, even our garbage posts not being delivered, even our garbage not being able to be collected, we understood the importance of public service. All this that we have taken for granted, we were about to give anything to get them back, even though we used to criticize our old ways of life, hoping that it would change for the better. But after all this, it might actually change for the worse. In so many countries, it's actually changing for the worse. So actually, things like, the world has always been changing. I'm not saying that it hasn't. Big events like the pandemic, big events like the war, actually, it just expedites the pace of the change. But what we want to see is change for the better. The ground is ripe for change, but who's going to sow the seeds? Is it going to be the freedom fighters? Is it going to be the human rights lawyers? Is it going to be technocrats? Is it going to be the free media? But unfortunately, those of us are sometimes under heavy attack, especially right now. And those of us who are trying to bring in any sorts of change is sometimes being viewed as foreign spies, foreign agents, was bribed by foreign entities, and under heavy skepticism. Those who have money can control the social media. You control the social media, you seem to control the thoughts of everybody. So in these unprecedented times requires unprecedented measures to be taken by everyone. And unprecedented cooperation, unprecedented amelioration, unprecedented acceleration. It may be the worst of times, but we can also make it the best of times as well. Thank you.